Hello YouTube, we are on the Real Programming channel. It is about HTML and CSS. My name is Andrei. This is our 40 years 1 lesson. I greet you. We will talk about adding an element to the greentea class. Open up the elixir.html file and locate the greentea cooler paragraph. This is our code. This is the text we want to change to green. All you're going to do is add the p element to a class called greentea. Here's how you do that. To add an element to a class, just add the attribute class along with the name of the class like greentea. Now that the greentea paragraph belongs to the greentea class, you just need to provide some rules to style that class of elements. Creating a class selector. Like this. Select the element in the class first, in this case p, then use a point to specify a class. Last is the class name. The selector p greentea selects all paragraphs in the greentea class. And here is the rule: make and text in a paragraph in greentea class the color green. So now you have a way of selecting p elements that belong to a certain class to style them. All you need to do is add the class attribute to any p elements you want to be green, and this rule will be applied. Give it a try to open your long CSS file and add the p greentea class select to it. A greentea test drive. Save and then reload to give your new class a test drive. Here is the new greentea class applied to the paragraph. Now the font is green and matches the greentea color. Maybe this styling wasn't such a bad idea after all. Exercise: sharpen your pencil and a sheet of paper. You turn two classes Raspberry and Blueberry to the correct paragraph in elixir.html and then write the styles to color the text blue and the purple respectively. The property value for Raspberry is blue 4 and Blueberry is purple. But put this at the bottom of your CSS file under the greentea rule: Raspberry first and then Blueberry. Yeah, we know, you're probably thinking, how can Raspberry be blue? Well, if Raspberry cool, it is blue, that's good enough for us. And seriously, when you blend up a bunch of blueberries, then really are more purple than blue. Work with us here. Taking classes future. You are already writing one rule that uses the greentea class to change any paragraph in the class to the color green. But what if you wanted to do the same to all Blackwater? Then you could do this. Just add another selector to handle Blackwater that are in the greentea class. Now this rule will apply to p and Blackwater elements in the greentea class, and in your HTML you write. So what if I want to add h1, h2, h3, p and Blackwater to the greentea class? Do I have to write one huge selector? No, there is a better way. If you want all elements there in the greentea class to have a style, then you can just write your rule like this. If you leave out all the elements names and just use period followed by a class name, then the rule will apply to all members of the class. Cool. Yes, that works. One more question. You said being in a class is like being in a club. Well, I can join many clubs. So can an element be in more than one class? Yes, elements can be in more than one class. It's easy to put an element into more than one class. Say, you want to specify IP element in that in the greentea, raspberry, and blueberry classes. Here how you would do that in the opening tag. Please, each class name into the value of the class attribute, which spacing between each, the ordering doesn't matter. So, for example, I could put an h1 into my products class that defines of font size and weight, and also a special class to change its color to red when something's won't sell. Exactly. Use multiply classes when you want the element to have styles you define in the different classes. In this case, all h1 elements associated with products have a certain style, but not all your products are no sell at the same time. By putting your special color in a separate class, you can add only those elements associated with products on sale to the special class to add the road color you want. Now you may be wondering what happens when an element belongs to multiple classes, all of which define the sum property like our P element up there. How do you know which style gets applied? You know each of these classes has a definition for the color property. So will the paragraph be green, blue, raspberry, or purple? We are going to talk about this in great detail after you learn a bit more CSS. But on the next page you will find a quick grid to hold you over. The world's smallest and fastest grid to how style are created. The world's elements and documents, tree and style rules and classes. It can get downright confusing. How does all this stuff come together so that you know which styles are being applied to each element? As we said, to fully answer that, you are going to have to know a little more about CSS, and you will be learning that in the next few chapters. But before you get there, let's just walk through some common sense rules of thumb about how styles are applied. First, do any selectors select your element? Let's say you want to know the font family property value for an element. The first thing to check is there a select in your CSS file that selects your elements. If there is and it has a font family property and value, then that's the value for your element. What about inheritance? If there are no selectors that match your element, then you rely on inheritance. So look at the elements, parents and parents, parents, and so on until you find the property defined. And if you find it, that's the value. Struck out again, then use the default. If your element doesn't inherit the value from any of its ancestors, then you use the default value defined by the browser. In reality, this is a little more complicated than we're describing here, but we'll get to some of those details later in the book. What is if multiply selectors select an element? Oh, this is a case. There are multiple selectors that match these elements and define the same color property. That's what we call a conflict. Which rule breaks the tie? Well, if one rule is more specific than the others, then it wins, but what does more specific mean? We'll come back in a later chapter and see exactly how to determine how specific a selector is, but for now let's look at some rules and get a feel for it. Listen. Here's a rule that selects any old paragraph element. This rule selects members of the greentea class. That's a little more specific. And this is rule select only paragraphs that are in the greentea class. So that's even more specific. There's rules also select only paragraphs in a particular class. So they are about the same in specificity as the P greentea rule. And if we still don't have a clear winner, and we'll talk about this in the next lesson. And on this, our 40s1 lesson are over. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel, please. Put likes, share with friends, comment, eat bananas, chocolate and nuts, drink more water for the effective work of our brains. Bye.